Hello, and welcome to She Leads Biotech, the podcast that celebrates women leaders in the bioscience space. I'm your host, Sharon Cox, CEO and Managing Director of CNA International, based right here in New York. And each week I'll be talking to women leaders about their work, their triumphs and challenges, providing invaluable insight into how women can unlock their superpowers and succeed on their own terms. So whether you're navigating your own career path in bioscience or you're passionate about science and innovation, I hope you're empowered and inspired by each episode. Today's guest is a scientist, strategist, and educator whose career has spanned medical devices, regenerative medicine, and cell and gene therapy. She's built multi-million-dollar research centers, forged industry-academia partnerships, and guided nonprofits and startups through the complexities of translational science. Now, she's channeled that experience into shaping the next generation of talent, designing and leading a groundbreaking master's program designed to bridge the gap between classroom learning and the real-world demands of advanced therapeutics. This program equips students not just with technical skills, but with the regulatory, clinical, and business context needed to bring transformative therapies to patients. So here to share details of the program and her career so far, please welcome the Director of the Master's Program in Biomedical Innovation and Development, Advanced Therapies at Emory University, Carolyn Yeago. Hey, Carolyn, how are you?
I'm doing great. Sharon, how are you?
Very well on this Friday. Looking forward to your weekend.
Absolutely. It's Friday. It's been a long week, but it's been a really good week. So I'm very excited to start my morning off with you.
Well, I'm very excited to have you here. I know I've been trying to chase you down for a while, so I really appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, my stalking wore off a bit. So, and where exactly are you based? Where am I talking to you from?
Yeah, so I am in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's not one of the places I've been to. I've heard it's a lovely place, but I've never been there.
Yeah, I have been in Atlanta now for, oh my gosh, almost over 20 years, and it's changed and grown a lot, but I really enjoy Atlanta. I think it's fantastic.
Good weather? I
think so. Some people will say it's a little hot, especially during our summers. It can be quite hot and humid, but, right now we're lows in the 60s, highs in the upper 80s. It's very pleasant and enjoyable. It's sunny. We need a little bit of rain at the moment, but it's good.
Oh, that's a bit like us in New York. That's where we're at right now. And the rain is scheduled for Sunday, typically, of course, over the weekend and not during work day. But so obviously being British, I'm obsessed with the weather. All us Brits are. So I'm glad that we've managed to have that conversation.
Yes.
And can now get that out of the way and talk about something a little more interesting. I know that you've got a very exciting project that you're working on at the moment, and I want to get to that and talk about that. But how did it start for you? So you've got a PhD in biomedical engineering, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So what led you down that path?
That's a great question. I love to tell this story because I find that it's common that a lot of people don't really know what they want to do, right? When you're starting as an undergraduate. So I didn't know I wanted to be a biomedical engineer when I started. It was very new, right? It was a brand new kind of field and degree. And honestly, I had gotten into North Carolina State University as an undergraduate. I'm from North Carolina and grew up there. And I had signed up for something called first year college, which kind of is an overview of all these different things you can do in college, right? So it exposes you to those things. And as an 18-year-old, I thought that'd be great because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I ran into someone who had done first year college and, no offense, I'm sure it's a fantastic program, but my mind as an 18-year-old was very influenced by my elders, right? And this person was like a year older than me. And they told me
so much wiser,
right? So much wiser, really knew what they were talking about. They said, don't do first year college. It's a waste of time. You don't get started on your classwork. They didn't have a good experience with it. And so I got really worried and thought to myself, well, what am I going to do? I really liked physics in high school and I really liked biology. And so I thought biomedical engineering would make a lot of sense with those two interests. And I loved it, right? I was really lucky. I called up North Carolina State and I said, can I switch to engineering? And they said, sure. And I was like, cool, I'm going to do this new thing called biomedical engineering. And nobody knew really what it was. I was super fortunate as an undergraduate to go after a co-op opportunity where you work for a year in alternating semesters. And I worked for a medical device company. I was the very first biomedical engineer that they had hired. I was also the first female co-op that they had hired. But it was a fantastic experience and really shaped how I see medical products being developed, right? So I got to be exposed not just to research and development coming from the technical side, but also to regulatory considerations, regulatory affairs, what design history files look like, how manufacturing is done, because we had on-site manufacturing. And it was a really, really great opportunity and solidified this interest and love that I have for biomedical engineering and showed me what it could look like in the real world. So that was amazing.
So how did you then follow that on? So you did a stint with the medical devices. Did you go back to academia or did you continue on in industry?
So that's a great question. I love to tell this story as well. So because biomedical engineering was so early, right, in its establishment, there were only certain times of the year that certain classes were offered. So I did my co-op for a full year. It was a fantastic experience, really enjoyed it. And I ended up with this summer that I didn't have any classes to take, but I hadn't finished the requirements to graduate. And I had never done research before. And there was a wonderful program. It is sponsored through the National Science Foundation here and is called Research Experience for Undergraduates. And you have an opportunity as an undergraduate to apply and go try out research. And so since I had this extra summer, I was like, well, I'll see if I like research. And I put in an application and was accepted at Georgia Tech. I went down to Georgia Tech here in Atlanta for a summer of research with Dr. Barbara Boyan's lab. And that was the first time I was exposed to things like cell culture and figuring out how we answer questions around mechanism of action and what different things do to the body and how your cells respond to various therapeutics. We looked at sex differences and chondrocytes, which are the cells that are in your knee cartilage. We were really interested in articular cartilage and sex differences and changes in estrogen could impact the cartilage there. So it was a fantastic experience. I had, like I said, never done research, and I really enjoyed it. And so when I came back to North Carolina State to finish up all of my schooling, there was a new professor that was joining State. Her name was Dr. Elizabeth Laboa, and she was doing research in mesenchymal stromal cells and mechanical loading on those cells to see if mechanical loading conditions could direct those cells to become cartilage or bone or other things. And I went to her office as an undergraduate and was like, I want to work with you. I have a year left. Can I help you in your research lab? And she was standing up a brand new research lab. She had no students. She had no graduate students. And I had no idea what I was doing, but she was like, yes, come work for me. This would be fantastic. So I helped her set up her lab, worked on establishing her, PCR reactions, getting her equipment set up, ordering incubators and tissue culture hoods and all this stuff. I ended up TAing a class around cell culture for other undergraduates. I'm still an undergraduate. I mean, in the scheme of things, I look back, I'm like, I guess I had no idea what I was doing, but I loved it. It was exciting. I loved reading the literature. I loved learning about these MSCs. We built mechanical conditioning chambers as my senior design project to expose the cells to hydrodynamic conditions or stretching conditions, things like that. It was great. And I thought, I really like research and, I've enjoyed being a student. So maybe I'll go be a graduate student. I had no real plan from the get-go, right? And I like to share that because 18-year-olds are put under so much pressure to figure out what they want to do and to go and do it. It takes some time to really figure that out. And I looking back, I'm very fortunate and thankful that I explored opportunities that just showed up, right? I'm like, oh, I'll do a co-op. This sounds great. I'll go do research. And I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I applied to graduate school and, got in several places, and you get to go and do the visits and see what's a good fit. But I really liked Georgia Tech. I really liked Atlanta. So I ended up going down to Atlanta for my graduate work here. The BME program is joint between Georgia Tech and Emory. And I completed my PhD there, working on, at the time, it was embryonic stem cells. Those have since really been kind of replaced with the induced pluripotent stem cells, iPSCs. But, back in my day when I was going through graduate school, it was a lot of embryonic stem cell work. And I loved that, but I think I knew in graduate school that going the traditional academic route, staying and pursuing a professorship and all of that wasn't going to be the right fit for me. And I had really enjoyed my co-op days and time, and wanted to go work in industry after I completed my PhD. And so that's what I pursued. I had a really supportive advisor who had a unique career path himself, a very successful researcher, Dr. Todd McDevitt, who's actually in industry now himself. So he was super supportive. The team and the graduate students around me were super supportive. And kind of a funny story about that. So I had worked for Elizabeth Laboa as an undergrad. She was a brand new professor setting up her lab and all of this. And I decided to go to graduate school. And I was like, oh, whatever I do in graduate school, I want to work for an established lab that has other people, like some senior graduate students and some postdocs, and they've got their protocols established so that they can help teach me and do things. And then I met Todd, and he was brand new. It was his first year.
Fully opposite.
Yes. And I was like, but he's doing this really exciting work on cardiomyocyte, heart cell differentiation from embryonic stem cells. And this is amazing and exciting. And I want to go do that. So I did. And I was one of his first 4 graduate students and had to repeat the whole process of establishing a lab and ordering equipment and figuring out the protocols. I was like, I don't know. But those experiences have been just a key theme in my career of setting up new things, doing new stuff, the building part of initiatives. I just love that. For better, for worse. I don't know what that says.
Well, I think that there are people that do very, very well in an established setup. I always think of it in terms of people who work for big pharma companies, where everything's very structured, it's all set up, the systems are in place, where your edge of the box is, and that's it. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then there are the people that fit more into the startup situation, got to wear all these different hats. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who've said we're building the plane as we're flying it kind of thing.
Yep, very much so. Yep.
That's just like a phrase now that I'd never heard of before, but now it's a very familiar phrase. And really, I find it that people don't do well if they try and switch. I've had people who worked in big pharma, and in my job as a recruiter, when somebody said, you're hiring for this very small company, I think I'd be a really good fit. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Because you've had years of having everything set up, systems in place, whatever, and that switch is very difficult to do, both sides. So, and I think it sounds like you established that pretty early on and knew where your niche was in this building and everything else.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I did, after graduate school, I did go and work for a relatively large company, was a combination. They had consumer products and also a healthcare division. And I worked for them for about 8 years. And they did have a lot of things established. I think what was critical for me to feel like I was making an impact and making decisions. And I don't regret going and working for a really large company because I learned so much. But I was in really early stage concept development, advanced technology research and development, looking at things that are 10 years out from the marketplace. And that experience was fantastic. But it is a unique role within a large company that I enjoyed. And then, obviously I left and did more startup things and building things. So yes, I do. I love that. I think The way I think about it in that building phase is that it really helps you to avoid the analysis paralysis because you've got to make decisions and you've got to move forward and you have to be willing to adjust that plan of moving forward as you gather more information. And what I have experienced in some of the larger companies and environments is that they just keep wanting more data. So they're like, let's learn more. What else can we do? Is this really the right thing? And you can get bogged down in that analysis paralysis, and it can slow your decision making down or your actions down a little bit. So that was my experience, at least.
In all the things that you've done, has there been a career decision that you made that you were like a little bit of unsure of at the time, but now you look back and think that was a pivotal moment?
That's a great question. I have not necessarily looked at it in that lens before because I also have a philosophy that there's no wrong decisions that you make. I just have this theory, right? I'm like, you're going to have opportunities, you're going to have choices, and I don't think you can make the wrong one as long as you learn from it. So I've always kind of had that mindset. I've always been nervous about the new things that I take on, right? Like, is this the right move? But I've had really great mentors in my life that talk about, what is the next right thing? So if this feels like the next right thing to do, whether it's right for a year or 5 years or longer, that's great. But in that moment, if it's the next right thing to do, you should go do it. Okay.
Before we get to that,
yes,
I do want, because you did a couple of years, and I can totally see how it would work in your own consulting, offering services to life science companies, to corporations, to non-profits. And I'm really keen to hear about that because obviously that's my sector in a kind of nutshell. And what did you find were the challenges that those organizations, those companies were facing that you were able to solve?
Yep. So I think that there are a couple really that fall into the bucket. So in my consulting company, I generally have either nonprofit clients or very small clients who are either figuring out how to set up a company or they're in that like SBIR, STTR stage, and then they want to, get their company going, spin out something from a university, that kind of thing. On the university kind of nonprofit side, I did a lot of consulting on research strategies and grants, right? So going after larger grant opportunities and helping them articulate a story that was really able to resonate with the audience, right? A lot of times, and I fall into this myself a lot, right? I'm an engineer and a scientist, right? I love technology. I love the science part. And we tend to get very excited about that. And we sometimes miss the portion of the story that's about the people, right? The problem that you're trying to solve and the impact that it's going to have on, daily lives and patients in our case in the healthcare sector. But I did consult on things outside of healthcare, climate, environment, power, technologies, things like that. But they still have an impact on people, right? And the story needs to resonate with reviewers, the people who are deciding how the funds are going to be distributed. And so a lot of that work was on how are you connecting with your audience and how are you turning this technological advance into something tangible and exciting that your reviewers are going to see, like, obviously, like, this is going to make a big impact if you get the funding to move forward. And it was a lot of that kind of work with the nonprofits about storytelling, audience relationship, and then the strategy about how they're going to put together those research portfolios. In industry, right? And back in my days in a larger company, you think a lot about portfolio management. You think a lot about your technology landscape and your product landscape and how you're going to make all the jumps that you need to make to get to where you want to go. And when you can bring that type of expertise and discipline into the academic side, I think it's really helpful to showcase that thoroughly thought out plan and bring in the right people to the project. So I did a lot of work on that. On the smaller company side, it's interesting. It's somewhat of a similar story, right? because again, it's a lot of times your scientists, engineers who have an idea for a new therapy, a new product that they think is, fantastic. And it usually is.
But they can't sell it.
Yeah, they can't sell it and they don't understand how it fits. And they haven't necessarily been exposed to reaching out and identifying their stakeholders, creating that view of their stakeholder, what their stakeholder needs, how they feel. We call it, establishing your personas of who you're going to be working with or trying to meet their needs. And so I'd work with them on some of that. The other thing that I saw a lot, and this will transition a bit to what I'm doing now, is that unless you've been through the process or seen the process of trying to commercialize a product, you don't always know what questions you should ask earlier rather than later.
It's like you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. You don't. You're very used to the science, the bench, answering the technical questions, but you might not answer those technical questions in, let's say, a way that is GLP, good laboratory practice compliant, right? Which means that you're going to have a hard time submitting that to the FDA in order to make progress towards your IND submission, right?
Yep.
And if you knew some of these things earlier on in your research phase, you can make better prioritization, better choices as to what experiments you want to do and how you're going to conduct those experiments so that you get really useful data to move forward. And so that is part of what I would try to contribute to these really early stage companies, right? Like, go find your customers and your stakeholders, understand how their working environment, what that looks like to them, what they're needing, what they're wanting. Be critical of your technology and how it can meet those needs. Become laser focused on that niche, right? Your niche customer so that you can do a really good job of meeting those needs. And think with your end in mind. Let's educate ourselves around what that end looks like and what is going to take to get there so that we can do a better job at these early stages, prioritizing certain things so that you can demonstrate progress. And these things are critical, right, for the funding landscape, for external investment landscape, for making your milestones, and then ultimately making progress through FDA approvals and commercial launches and things like that.
Yeah. So it's having the product, so to speak, whether it's a non-profit program or whether it's an asset, and being passionate about what that is and being able to convey that to the people who can give you the funding, the support, whatever you need to get that through to the next stage.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that kind of work ties into what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Now, I've first reached out to you when I saw an announcement of what you were doing now.
Yeah.
And I'll hand up, confess, I don't fully understand what it is, but I loved the sound of it. And it sounded like an educational program, and it was something that was going to help the next generation. So if I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry, but school me, tell me, what is it that you're doing now?
Yeah. So I'll start off just by saying that, what I'm going to talk about is my perspective of this program, my views and opinions, and it's not, Emory University's views and opinions of the program. I had been doing my consulting work. I had been at Georgia Tech doing a lot of research stuff, and I had been in industry. And there was an opportunity to come here to Emory University as part of the Biomedical Engineering Department, which is joint between Emory University and Georgia Tech, and launch a new, what I term like a professional or accelerated master's degree program. And so this has a long title. It's a Master's of Science in Biomedical Innovation and Development for Advanced Therapeutics. And what I loved about this is it takes 12 months and we expose the students and trainees going through the program, everything that it takes, soup to nuts, to launch a new advanced therapeutic in the market. So we cover topics that are generally not covered in other educational opportunities. We start by exposing them to what does the global market look like for therapies? How do you understand where you fall into that market? How do you figure out if your potential therapeutic is really going to meet an unmet need in the clinic? How do your physicians want to engage with that product? What are your patients expecting it to do for them? We talk about regulatory requirements and regulatory pathways. We talk about clinical strategies, clinical trial design, how that works and fits in, along with the technical development. So there's a lot on the preclinical product and process development part where we talk in depth about the IND process, the CMC sections that are required, the data that needs to be collected, and how that really integrates with the other departments, if you will, right? Like your quality department, your regulatory department. So the students are exposed to all of these concepts. And this really resonated with me because of those early experiences in my co-op, right?
Yep.
I went to work for a medical device company. I had no idea outside of anything of R&D, right? But because of that experience, I got exposed to manufacturing, I got exposed to regulatory, I got exposed to medical affairs, clinical affairs, and you really get to see how all of this comes together to create a product that is a viable product on the market that is making a positive difference in patients' lives. And I feel that the sooner you can get that broader picture, the more effective you're going to be in whatever role you have, because you're going to understand what your business partners, regulatory partners, whoever you're working with, you understand what they need from you. And you can kind of speak their language a little bit and explain to them what you need from them as well in order to prioritize your research or whatever it is you're doing. So I'm very, very excited to launch this program. It's in its first year with students here at Emory University. It's an in-person program.
That was good. What I was going to ask. It's an in-person full-time program?
Yes, it's an in-person full-time program that takes 12 months to complete. And I designed this very explicitly with an eye towards working in a company or in an industry or in a small startup, right? And so our program has instructors who are from industry. We also have instructors who are academic researchers, right? And so we bring and marry this together. We're really fortunate that we have some very senior people who've been around and launched products in the advanced therapeutic space that are coming and teaching the students things about advanced manufacturing strategies. How do you decide if you're going to work with a CDMO? Which CDMO do you work with? How do you incorporate scalable technologies in a phase appropriate fashion during your early development and later development phases? These are people who've actually done it, launched the products, and they are coming and instructing the students. And they're national, right? So while the program is in person here at Emory, we have a mixture of instructors that are in person here at Emory and some instructors who join from really other hotbeds of advanced therapeutic development. So on the West Coast, up in the Northeast, people are kind of from all over. And that is critical for the students going through this program to work on establishing their own networks, finding the different types of opportunities that they're really interested in. A lot of times students, if they're coming directly from undergrad, or maybe they've completed undergrad and done a little bit of work through an internship or a short stint in a company, they still don't have this full view of all of these career paths that are open to them. And so part of what the program does is help expose them to those different career paths and allows them the flexibility to dive deeper into those types of paths, right? Like maybe you really love clinical research and you want to go be part of a clinical research organization, design trials, and work with multiple clients on multiple products, right? Or maybe you really want to be a project and see something from the very beginning all the way through to the end and work with the engineers and scientists who are doing the development, work with your marketers, all of that stuff. So anyway, I'm very, very passionate about the program. And I'm very fortunate that a lot of people in this industry, in the advanced therapeutics industry, want to contribute to the program because every person that I talk to says, I wish something like this had been available when I was in school, right? I think they see the value of the information and the content that's being shared with the students. And they, you know so many people in this industry. You've talked to numerous people on your podcast. People love to give back, right? We want to share our knowledge with
and in
others.
in the advanced therapies world particularly,
Mm-hmm.
not that other sectors haven't been, but I have found, and I don't know whether it's because it's relatively new, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's still, the people within it are still kind of finding their way. So there's no real, one expert it's everybody needs everybody to
Yeah.
help get that next piece. But, and, as you know, our friends and sponsors of the show is
Yes.
Facilitate and the Women in Advanced Therapies.
Yes.
And
they're
everybody
amazing.
is so accommodating. It's an incredible industry to be in.
Yeah. I mean, I feel 10,000% confident that if I pick up the phone and call anybody in my network around this space, they will be like, yes, how do I get involved? I have people coming in to listen to student presentations so that they can give them feedback. We do a lot of business simulations, right? So we need to go to a review for this product, and you're going to be pitching to your executive board to make sure you can continue to have funding to do the research. And so people from the industry come and they listen and they give the students feedback. It's amazing and
Incredible.
fantastic. I just feel really fortunate that everyone who I have had the opportunity to work with in any capacity is so willing to volunteer their time and their expertise and their support for the students in the program.
Where do your, I think you touched on it,
Mhm.
but where do your students come from? Obviously, you're in the
Yeah.
first year of this, and obviously future years you want to do. Where how would people get to know about it?
Yes.
If it's relatively new, and B, what level do they already need to be at in order to maximize the course? So
Yeah.
that they're going into it kind of, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing.
So I think it is well set up for a few types of students. It is well set up for students who are coming out of an undergraduate degree, generally from some sort of STEM background and life science background. So biology, cellular biology, cell physiology, that kind of background is very good. The biomedical engineering background is very good. And I think students who excel in the program have had some sort of either internship, co-op, or research experience. So they have a thorough understanding already of these are real products. This is how it works. This is what a lab looks like. Here's how things work in a lab on the research side of things. We also have some physicians who are interested in this, people who maybe have been through medical school who love medicine, but maybe have decided that practicing medicine in the traditional sense is not where their passions are truly aligning. And they're interested in like maybe a CMO type role is of interest to them, but they want to gain that view of what does all this look like? How does it come together? And where do I fit in? I think it is also well suited to people who are maybe in entry level industry positions that are not getting exposed through their own role to the broader sense of the company. It really depends on company culture and opportunities and leadership teams and direct managers as to whether you get kind of siloed in your own department and do your own responsibilities and present on that, contribute to that. Sometimes you don't get to see what it looks like downstream or upstream from you. And so those types of entry level roles might really benefit from this broader exposure. It'll make them much more effective at their job and likely more likely to accelerate their career path and promotional path.
Be something that companies in the advanced therapy space, if they've got junior staff members, the investment to maybe sponsor them onto a course.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this has been a concept that I would love to see come to fruition, right? I have a whole kind of plan and strategy for how this type of program could grow and expand. One, potentially through company fellowships. Maybe they want to sponsor a couple of fellows to go through the program. And then they could be doing an internship with the company or a part-time work. The program is designed so that the courses are clustered together. And while it is a full-time program with a pretty heavy course load, I do have their classes generally in a bubble altogether. So they have large portions of time. If they wanted to work part-time, I think that would be feasible for them. It would be a
But
heavy
they'd obviously
work
have to be
in Atlanta.
in
Yeah.
Atlanta. So, but thinking about companies that, as you say, this sponsoring, it's almost like an entry level job shop kind of
Yeah.
thing, really, where companies could come to you and say, look, we really, with our growth, we're going to need entry level people to do A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
We will sponsor a couple of students that you're going to have on the course, and subject to them passing and doing well, we have a job for them at the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to be in a
absolutely.
slightly different climate. We got to wait for, I think we have to wait for the market to improve a little bit.
Yeah.
But the principle of that, it seems to me, is because I think it was only last year, was at Bio24. And there were a lot of conversations there about the struggle of getting people into the industry and finding the talent at that entry level area that was going to be able to be effective. And that seems to be like a perfect opportunity to do that.
I think so. And one of the other things, right, in the Atlanta ecosystem, there's been a lot of early movement. So there's companies coming into the ecosystem that want to support early stage startups. Shriner's Research is moving into the Atlanta area as well. There's going to be a lot of jobs coming out and hopefully some spin out technologies. One of the things that I would like for this program to help support is the workforce around these smaller stage companies, earlier stage companies, getting knowledgeable people who are like, oh, wait, we learned about regulatory and quality. Do we have a quality management system? Like maybe we should start implementing that. Here are some questions. And I have a Rolodex of people that I could reach out to for directional support to help get this established and going. I think that type of perspective and the holistic view goes a really long way with some of these early companies and the technologies that are coming out of our local ecosystem.
Okay.
Which I think is great. And the students are very excited about our local ecosystem as well. So I'm excited about that.
So maybe when the program's fully done, I don't know how it works in the academia world, so forgive me, I'm just going to spout here. But could you then sell that course to, like San Diego University or somebody, and then they can run that course to students from there?
It's an interesting model, right? It would require a lot of, MOUs and things like that to figure out.
But I don't think about, because I'd be like, well, why can't we just make that happen?
I certainly think, I think that there's a lot of ways that we can be creative in order to expand and scale education and opportunities nationally for students so that we can support this growing industry. And there's no reason why we can't think differently than we have in the past about how to best execute that. So I certainly think as this grows and improves where these students are going, the students graduating from the program are having a large impact. There's certainly a scale question there that should be explored.
Watch this space. And when you do, just now, I suggested it. Okay.
I love it. All the credit goes to Sharon.
Absolutely. For the course as it stands right now, if somebody wanted to apply, how would they do that? What would be the process?
That is a great question. So the course is offered directly through Emory University, and it is considered part of what's called the Laney Graduate School. So if you Google Emory University, Laney Graduate School, you'll land on their page and it'll talk about all of their different graduate programs. This is called such a long name. I didn't name it.
Yeah, we might need to do something with the title.
Right? Acronym is also long. Academics love acronyms, but the acronym is MSBID-AT, right? I know.
Dash AT?
Yes, dash. Yeah, MSBAD-AT.
Dash AT. I like that.
Yeah.
Rolls off the tongue.
Absolutely. When you say it about 1,000 times. Master of Science in Biomedical Innovation and Development for Advanced Therapeutics.
Right.
Is the full name of it. You can find it online. I can certainly send you a link if you want to stick it somewhere in the view of the podcast. Happy to do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the link in the promos that we do. And so, when the episode airs and people listen to it, then they'll know to check in the links of where they saw it to be able to find it. So
yeah. And we're accepting
incredible.
applications for next year now, right? So we're accepting applications now through January. And just super excited. The students who are going through this program are incredibly smart and motivated and excited. And I am hands down loving working with them. All of the instructors are loving the program as well. So it's coming together really nicely. And I cannot wait to see what they go off and do after they complete the program.
That's going to be the exciting bit, isn't it? When you get the feedback from almost like the alumni that come back and tell you that, here's where I am now.
Patience is not one of my better qualities. So I am learning a bit more, trying to increase my ability to be patient on that. But I'm very, very excited.
It's going to happen. No question. No question at all. So usually when I do this podcast, my final question to somebody is like, what advice would you have for somebody coming in to the space? But I think the advice is get yourself on this program if you can, right?
I mean, from my own selfish standpoint, absolutely. I think it's an amazing program. Go out and do that. My other things are, you're not going to make a wrong choice, right? Like that is just always my advice to people. The people I work with are incredibly bright and motivated, and whatever choice you make, you will figure out how to make that work for you. And you'll learn from it. So
just be ready to pivot if you need to.
Yeah, and use what you learned in order to establish that pivot. And sometimes you don't even know that you need to pivot until you go do something, and you're like, oh, that is not what I thought it was.
Pivot.
Yeah, I'll do something else. I don't know. I love it. I love new things. I love building stuff. I love making connections with people. So if you love to do those things, come join our program, learn about advanced therapeutics, develop them. They're life-changing technologies, life-saving technologies. So passionate about that space. I've been in it for over 20 years now. And I think we can do so much more.
Yeah. And I have absolutely no doubt that this program is going to be amazing. The passion that you have for it right from the outset is palpable. I mean, you can just sense, you've invested so much into the program in putting it together. It's going to be amazing. I know. And anything that we can do on the show to help get the word out about that, then we'll most certainly do.
I mean, soon in a few years from now, you're going to be interviewing the students who are off doing amazing and great things.
Yes. And we'll be doing a big thing on, and what did you get your MS in? Oh, okay. It was that course, was it? Okay. And where is Carolyn? And Carolyn, we'll wheel you out of retirement. Offer from your island where you're languishing to relax in the sunshine and stuff. But for now, you got way too much work to do. So,
oh my gosh, yeah, it's a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
And I can sense the fun that it's going to be. So thank you so much for joining us today.
You.
It's just been brilliant hearing your story and learning about this course. I just knew it was going to be something to be excited about, and I was absolutely right. So I can't wait to see how it continues, and maybe we could do a follow-up episode once you've had your first sort of cohort of students and they've gone through the program, that we can do a follow-up as to where are they going and what are they doing.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. No, I just really appreciate your time and the invitation to join you and to be included in such an amazing podcast that you've been putting together over the past few years. I know we connected a few years ago. I love what you're doing, and I just want to say thank you for the invitation. It's been fantastic to spend this time with you this morning.
Feelings mutual. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
I'll be watching to see how things are going.
Awesome.
All right. Take good care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. She Leads Biotech is brought to you by CNA International USA, a woman-owned boutique search firm based in New York. If you're looking to hire talent for your company or want support in achieving your career goals, please reach out to me at contact@cnaint.com. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
And remember, the success of every woman should be an inspiration to another. So don't be afraid to share yours. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.